Hey guys, I'm learning TFT. In this video, I'm going to VOD review one of my games that I played today. Yesterday, I posted a video on how to look at your macro stats and identify any leaks in your game. And I was able to find that I was playing stage 4 a little bit too weak. I was not deploying enough gold by the end of stage 4 and losing a ton of rounds. So after I identified that leak, you can see in the games I played today, I started really focusing on building strongest board and deploying my resources instead of greeding or going fast 9. And that has helped my performance and be able to climb today. And so I want to go through a game where I am going to kind of go through high-level decision making and talk through my macro approach to this game, as well as especially focusing on stage 4 and my thought process there. Alright, so I'm gonna do 2x speed. So it's completed Anvil Portal, which I am kind of intuitively leaning towards a reroll direction, since more items are good for reroll. Gives you just a lot more power if you are able to hit your reroll units. I'm scouting the lobby early to see what direction the lobby may go in. Holding Zoe for possible Ahri reroll, holding Mage and Rumble for possible Mage reroll. Vanguard with Rumble, and we saw that there was a potential Ahri player, so that restricts some of the possible options, but Rumble also leaves Hui reroll open. And given that I don't really have much direction here, I see that I might be contested in multiple directions. If I was pretty confident in a certain reroll line, I would probably just take Pandora's Bench. But because the AP side, when I was scouting, seemed kind of questionable, I don't have much direction. So I reroll the middle one and go for good for something. I want to make sure I didn't miss any augments. I'll go through and see. Okay. Yeah, so good for something is the direction I go in. I get a dummy, and here I want to try to stay flexible. So Static Shiv is the best flexible offensive item, because when you take good for something, you want to itemize your carries first, since you want to let your front line die so that you can generate gold. So right now my general approach is stay flexible, or as flexible as I can, generate gold, and probably play towards a level 8 board, which likely means I'm leaning Rise with Static Shiv. I was thinking about taking Shojin as a backline carry item, but that restricts a lot of my possibilities, especially at level 8. And so Static Shiv just allows me to possibly play towards Rise, but also leaves open reroll lines along the way, such as Mage reroll, Ahri reroll, Hui reroll, 3-cost Mage reroll, as well as Rise. So I go with Static Shiv. We win the first round, and I wanted to try and make 10 here, but I wasn't counting ahead. So that's actually a major mistake. I should have been counting ahead of the battle to see if I could make 10 there and have been ready to do so. Now I can lean towards a Mage direction in the mid game. I can go towards an Ahri line. I'm generating some gold here, and I'm able to pull off a 2-streak off of this while also generating gold, which is quite good without having leveled early on. I can play towards a Hui reroll line with the Vanguard front line, though there were a bunch of people that already slammed like Blue buff. There was someone with an RE2, So I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to streak the whole stage, though I was able to fortunately 3-streak. But I don't think I'm going to be that strong, and I don't want to commit to losing out on Econ right now. And holding this Mordekaiser is really expensive, though it's quite good for Hui reroll. So you could make the argument that it's worth holding that. And a 4 Vanguard frontline could have been an option with Ahri as well instead of the Bastion frontline, though there was some Ahri likely leaning in Ahri's direction. The cloak here is kind of awkward because I don't want to build a backline item, which arguably maybe I should have reforged a cloak. And I was trying to streak here. I should have waited on whether or not I slam this. But given that I'm trying to streak, I want to win, so I slam. I probably could have waited to see if I was going to play against someone that I easily beat, in which case I didn't need to slam. So that was also probably a mistake there. Now I have my second mage with Chrono. And so this already seems like it's a stronger frontline. I'm thinking about selling to make 40, but it's actually, and I like kind of decide a little bit too late. But it's generates more gold this way than just trying to make 40. And I make 40 anyway because I was able to generate gold from the units on the board. And this Declaw is just seeing if I could kill an extra unit. With the item removers now, you could just be really liberal with slamming items that are suboptimal. I probably should have solo frontline this Soraka over here to generate gold for good for something. And now I have pretty good Rise items. I'm still not slamming this Declaw, which again was pretty not optimal to slam, because I just want to generate gold. I think I'm able to kill units, and a lot of times with Seraphine, it actually works out because you can kill their backline, and ideally they kill my frontline and I can get to the backline. Here I'm thinking, since I'm gonna try to make a lot of backline items. Exiles works out well since it just gives me more tankiness without the cost of actually having to itemize them. And that will prevent me from taking too much HP loss. And I level here and lose 1 econ interval because 2 streaking would be really strong, would give me 2 gold, which would net a positive on the lost interest, plus the 50% chance of the extra unit generating gold. So I think that's generally positive expected value to sacrifice that econ to get an extra unit on the board. Especially Shyvana unit quality is quite good. You can see there that I'm putting in Rise, Scholar Rise into the planner since my items are facilitating that direction really well. There was another Portal player who will contest Rise, but I'm pretty rich from good for something and generating a good amount of gold and preserving a lot of HP in this mid game. So I'm feeling pretty confident that I'll be able to get to this. So this guy, late game specialist, will probably contest Rise as well. This player moved towards Kalista. And I'm looking for kind of more backline components, like probably like a JG. So for Rise, I could do like red buff, Rabadon, JG, slam, put the Shiv on like another Scholar. And here I'm leveling, and I'm basically betting that I can sell this, or I can get 1 gold from somebody dying, and Zoe does, and then sell this to make 40, which makes it so that the sacrifice to get to 40 gold isn't that high because I win to cover that interest. And it gives me higher odds for costs. So my econ's still pretty good right now. Scouting to see which side I want to put Seraphine on. You want opposite side enemy carry. This player was kind of optimized his positioning pretty well against me. But I'm killing a good amount of units while generating gold, so I'm pretty happy with the outcome right now. I'm pretty rich. Whereas the other, this Portal player is 40 gold, level 7, whereas I'm 60, so I have 20 gold advantage on him. So I should be able to hit when I roll down, or at least have a better shot at it. And so here I'm already kind of thinking about transitioning over to the Rise board. And in the back of my mind, I can also play towards Preserver Warriors, though I'm still generally leaning towards Rise. And this is where the augment selection gets interesting. I can go Spellcaster's Toolbox, though. So Zhonya's is really good on Rise, but it would take a while. And based off of what the research in my recent spreadsheet, I'm trying to really focus on being strong in stage 4. So I don't want this delayed strength. Pandora's also just doesn't place well, and usually if you're picking it, you want to fix your items, and that also is a delayed strength, so I ignore those two. Impenetrable Bulwark could be good, though I already have like components, and none of these seem like very ideal options. And I come across What the Forge, which allows me to stick with a level 8 strategy and kind of be flexible depending on what I see, and allows me to not have to contest the other Rise player, which would potentially be an issue if I get stuck on a Rise 1 without a strong front line. So I lean towards What the Forge, and I do a pretty heavy roll down where I want to try, and looking at these items with Infinity Force, Suspicious Trenchcoat, like these Ludens, these are pretty good warrior preserver angle items, so that's kind of the direction that I'm going here on this roll down. My APM's still not great. I ideally would have rolled down further here. Mana Zane looks good for Gwen. And Forbidden Idol on Rakan is quite good for the shielding. Ideally, that would want to go on Morgana later. And so I want to roll down and at least hit a 2-star forecast as like a reasonable carry. And I hit Olaf, so keep rolling, not able to find anything. Put the Suspicious Trenchcoat on Olaf and the Horizon Focus on Neeko, since she stuns 3 units. Ideally, the Forbidden Idol would also go on the same unit for since items stack in value relative to each other. And this board already seems like somewhat stable. If I can find a Rakan 2, that would be great. One of the warriors, either Fiora 2 or ideally Gwen 2 would be good. There's a Gwen pair. And ideally I can roll down more to try to stabilize further. So get all the items on Neeko, and now this is actually quite strong. I have a very tanky front line in the form of Olaf and Neeko, and Gwen is continuing to do damage from the back line. And surprisingly, this battle is very close, and I barely lose. So if I had, I probably should have rolled more, like down to 10. If I had hit one of these 2-stars, that would have been fight diff there. And we get the Milio, which, since I do have 2 Suspicious Trenchcoats, which gives me more frontline time for my Milio to add items, it's able to farm me a bunch of items, and now the unit quality as I'm getting this board 2-starred is quite strong. I think in previous, just in general, my style of play, I've been baited by level 9 too much recently, which is why in the stats I would be losing a lot in stage 4. And I think this game just helps remind me that you can play a strong game just staying at level 8. If you 2-star your board and the unit quality is strong, you can still get into a solid top 4 spot with upside. What the Forge gives you a lot of upside because it scales as the game progresses, since every time everyone gets an item, you get an incremental advantage over your opponents. And so that's another reason that this augment, and I want to try to focus on playing augments that will give me extra incentive to allow me to focus on creating a stronger stage 4, transitioning from the middle to the end game. Because sometimes I just get lazy in stage 4 and I'm just thinking, oh, I'll get to stage 5 and get to level 9 and hit a bunch of 5 costs, which you don't really need to do. If you are able to play a strong stage 4 and stage 5, you can see I win the first 2 rounds. I don't have everything 2-starred, but my main 2 carries are 2-starred, and I have a very solid tank / support in the form of Neeko. And every time, again, we get to a carousel or creep round, we get more items. That just adds to my advantage. And so with this, by the way, that was a trick I learned from Frodan, that you can, on the charm where you get, I think it's animate bench, units thrown in, you can buy, then hover and press E to sell. You need the hotkey, and then you can buy the next unit in shop. So even if you don't have enough gold to buy everything in shop, you can buy one, have it thrown in, sell it, and then buy the next one. So that's a pretty some pretty good tech right there. So I'm just here rolling every round, buying charm, looking to upgrade my Rakan and my Nasus, and just using these rounds to survive, generate econ through the gold here, and don't really have to rely on getting to 9. Instead, I'm just minimizing HP loss with these charms, rolling to be able to upgrade my board, and biding time for more items to come to magnify my artifact advantage. Here I separate the items so that Milio can, because I have fully itemized Fiora and Gwen, so that Milio can help itemize 2 kind of tank / support units instead of centralizing the items and then one of the items getting thrown to like a naked unit. Ideally, I can upgrade this Neeko into a Briar later, and the Suspicious Trenchcoat and Forbidden Idol would also be really ideal on Morgana, if I can get to Morgana at some point in the game. Here, Fishbones, I'm looking at it, and it's an AD item, and could be okay on... I could have actually... Maybe what would have been better here is putting Fishbones on Fiora and then moving the Suspicious Trenchcoat on Rakan. But I was looking at the Fishbones and the attack speed was like 40%, I want to say, which just helps Milio cast faster to get the rest of my units more items, which I found to be pretty useful. Here, Ludens is quite good on Fiora since it like does a bunch of overkill damage. So I moved the Suspicious Trenchcoat. This does kind of make it a little bit... This might be suboptimal since I just realized that I have 3 units with 2 items, so it kind of is a suboptimal split of items, and I take a loss there. Unfortunately, I get an infusion of gold here, so that I'm still going to roll for charm, but I'm almost able to get to level 9 and add in another unit. I lose Exile's value here, I forgot about that. And I was surprised that I was like somewhat reasonably stable against his mage board. Well, maybe not. That wasn't that close. He has 2 Zeraths, so I want to deny this Zerath. And I kind of baited him into taking it, and then he probably got a bad item as a result of that. Death's Defiance got very fortunate with that. And then roll for Charm. Get gold, which is not useful. And we're getting ready for the final fight. I get Exiles back, and he has a dragon here. So I got the extra chrono value from the Camille. And fortunately, this fight actually goes pretty well. So I hope you found this VOD review instructive. I think the big takeaway that I had is I'm really focusing more on stage 4. I want to select augments that help me get into the good habit of rolling down, and I probably should have rolled down even more aggressively in that stage 4. I believe I had 2 losses and 3 wins, with one of those losses being extremely close, which would have been a 2-star Rakan or 2-star Gwendiff, and I think I had 20 or 30 gold, something like that, that if I rolled down, I probably would have hit one of them to 2-star, which would have saved even more HP. So anytime I can get augments that can incentivize me to play strongest board, just makes the game a lot more straightforward and allows you to play more flexibly in the game. So yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on that game. I'm sure I made plenty of mistakes and probably had way more ways that I could optimize my decision making, and I would love to hear your feedback on that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.